Kestrel pickup, and Wild XC is maybe a crystal carry. Oh, Gwen.
Gwen comes out here.
I like Gwen. Gwen is a pretty safe pickup. It's going to require Velocity to have to think pretty hard about whether this could be CP Gwen. If Velocity decides to go with two double range compositions, they're going to go for the Scarf again. Now on A side, this does give TSM time to react to the pick. Gives them time to think about it.
Would you like to see CP Gwen here? Do you think this is a composition where CP Gwen comes out well?
CP Gwen into Scarf is probably not going to be the best, just simply because once Scarf gets to the late game and you both get there, like you're scaling around the same time. So they're going to go with Taka. They need an earlier team composition to really push. I don't love the Taka into the team comp. I'm not exactly sure why TSM is prioritizing this on B side.
But they're kind of penned in here, and if BestChuck just commits to this rotate, maybe they can go for something. So he was going back to the lane.
Vainglory's going to take quite a bit of damage from that Kestrel, but here's BestChuck, as you say. Baines just needs to try and get away here because already First Blood has gone to TSM. Can Baines escape from the three-man TSM squad? I don't think he's going to be able to get away from this one, as he will fall as well. 2 kills to Team SoloMid.
Velocity just got out-rotated there. Like, Team SoloMid, no matter which direction Velocity ran, Team SoloMid was going to have the edge, even if there was a rotate, just because BestChuck was already there shopping. So, Team SoloMid, they're off to a good start this time. My question is, we'll see if it gets answered the way that Team SoloMid or Velocity want in the next couple of minutes, is Vainglory, what's he going to do with the early pressure that Team SoloMid is starting to build up? Taka's, we talk often about them needing to try and make something happen. Is he going to be able to do it this time? Last game, it was a bit iffy.
It was, and I think a lot of that was on Velocity's shoulders because they were putting a huge amount of pressure into the jungle, and I want to see them doing that again, in all honesty. Get some early scout traps. Baines did actually boot in there to try and get the Impale off. Wasn't able to connect. Will knock Vainglory back, but Aloha was able to steal away the fronts. BestChuck here as well. Gonna have to try and get away from the Bucks on Zio. Is slow on his rotate, and TSM take another kill. Vainglory now jumping onto Zio. Velocity will get away with 2 members still alive, but TSM at the moment are winning all of the early trades.
You have to question that play with the boots active from Vaines. It's such a long cooldown early. You've already lost a fight, so you kind of, on some level, want to keep it for the next fight that you can actually win. Now they're going aggressive with Zio on the back line. This is just buying time for Vainglory to make his way back, though.
Exactly, this is overly aggressive from Hammer's Velocity. Vainglory's going to come in onto Zio, and there's just no escape for a Scarf against Attacker and an Arden. Vaines dies as well. Velocity just went in a 2v3 situation, knowing it was a 2v3 situation.
I'm pretty blown away by some of the decisions being made right now. It's not that Team SoloMid isn't playing really well, and that's obviously the reason why they're so good and so far in the tournament, but Velocity is doing some really questionable things. They're picking fights 2 versus 3. They're using important cooldowns to get in positions where they can't do much anyway. They need to calm themselves down and be careful, because Vainglory, he's gone for the Stormguard banner, but if that last fight had happened just a tiny bit earlier, I think it would have changed his build to try and snowball.
Vainglory does dodge the Impale with the Titan. FlashX takes a bit of hurt as well. Aloha is here, but as you say, I feel this is Velocity coming off a strong win and thinking, look, we've got the upper hand at all portions of the game. We're the better team. We can just do anything. And here comes Vainglory again onto Zio. Takes him down. Hammer's Velocity are 6-0 behind in this game already, and TSM are just pushing in time and time again.
The big difference here is BestChuck NA is just doing so much damage early on. Last game, it wasn't quite the same. He didn't have quite the same pressure. It wouldn't have been to this extent had Velocity not overreached a little bit early on, but now the gold lead is starting to be noticeable. It's about 1,000 at 4.5 minutes in. Team SoloMid are in a great position to keep the pressure on.
That they are, and you can see it coming out in their builds as well. Vainglory goes for a little bit of defense to allow him to be a bit more aggressive. You've got BestChuck NA building up towards a Sorrow Blade. FlashX almost has his Fountain. We've seen a lot of Iron Guard banners as well on Roamers this tournament, something that wasn't quite meta before we came into Worlds, but a lot of people have picked it up to keep that Roamer a little bit healthier as they do go through the jungle. Aloha's behind on his items, as is Zio. Only double crystal bit, and Vainglory knows it. He jumps onto Aloha. Half HP already on that Kestrel. TSM just continually pounding away at Hammer's Velocity.
I'd like to see some minion candy on Vaines. If this ever actually develops into a kill for Team SoloMid, they're going to take quite a lot. You got to remember as well, they've got double weapon power, kind of, right? Like, they've got a lot of damage in the weapon variety coming out of BestChuck, and Vainglory with the Stormguard is still going to take turrets pretty quickly. So they need to have some way of dealing with this, and certainly it's either going to be moving into the jungle and stealing some backs away and giving up a turret, or it's going to be just them having no option other than sit in the lane. If that's the case, I'd like to see them.
I agree. I think Zio picked one up a little bit earlier on just to try and push that lane up.
Yes, he did.
No one's got one at the moment, but as you say, keeping Team SoloMid off that turret is vital for Velocity. The first game we saw where they lost that turret early on, they lost a huge amount from it because of the vision control that FlashX could put down.
Alright, so right now, Team SoloMid is obviously in a great position. We do have to talk about later on in the game, though, and the fact that Velocity scales quite well. I think because of the diversity of having the 2 carries and lots of different damage coming out of Velocity, whilst Vainglory might have an easier time going in like this.
On to Zio once again. Buckshot does a lot, but the Githia wall was absolutely beautiful from Vainglory. Misses the Impale at the end, but Velocity turn it onto Vainglory.
No vision in the left side mustache bush means they don't know if Vainglory is there. I think it's a little bit of hubris to think that he wouldn't be nearby given the amount of pressure Team SoloMid has been putting there. So, this does give Velocity some space. They needed this space. The question is, what can they do with it? Aloha thinks they can find some more kills.
Yeah, FlashX impaled up. Glimmershot's not going to be able to burn through that Vanguard, but Velocity have started to dictate the pace of this game a little bit more. Vainglory trying to get onto Aloha. The ace is high, comes down, and there's the stun. Vainglory trying to get out of the gauntlet. Will have the Githian wall up in 2 seconds, but it's going to be 2 seconds too late as Vainglory takes him down.
Zio just backed.
Yeah.
If he had not backed there, maybe they could turn and fight. Maybe they could use the goop to slow down the aggression. Now, he doesn't have a minion candy. This turret's a gun.
That it is. Vainglory and Chuck will be able to take that one incredibly quickly. Flash does take a one-shot, one kill to the face, but still, Team SoloMid able to take the first turret of the game 7 minutes in.
That is a really big deal. It's going to allow Team SoloMid a lot of space to push up their line of vision, allow them to see any opportunities that Aloha thinks he has to maybe take his backs and play like that. I think Vainglory, now with the Shattered Glass, if he maybe picks up half an item more, is just going to feel pretty comfortable going and invading constantly, especially with Best, Chuck, and Flash being fairly good at getting away. You've got Skedaddle on Gwen, you've got a massive slow. Arden obviously facilitates escape with that Vanguard. Team SoloMid, if they want it, have pretty much complete map control right now.
And that means complete control of gold as well. Getting those jungle camps, getting that gold miner will force them further and further ahead. Already they've taken a 3,000 gold lead over Hammer's Velocity. And Hammer's Velocity, Kestrel and Scarf need items to scale up. They're never going to be great late game unless they're at those 2-3 item spikes. Team SoloMid will take the gold mine, get an immense payout for themselves, and continue just to chip away at any advantage Hammer's Velocity might take.
Look at this, Best Chuck just picking up his second big item. He's got a breaking point now. That's going to be massive, especially because Velocity kind of wants longer fights, right? Later into the game, they're going to have Zio with another item and this broken mint, and he wants to stack. Aloha, I think he should go for Monocle. Oh,
Buckshot onto Aloha. Good Githian wall to knock Chuck and Vainglory away. Zio not quite going to join the fight yet. The aces high did not connect onto Vainglory, which means Velocity can just get underneath the safety of their turret.
And Team SoloMid, if they were feeling stressed after that last game, they're not really showing it here. Velocity, on the other hand, maybe got carried away after picking up that win. You got to remember, they're still on the back foot. One more loss, and they are done. They're going to the 3rd place match at Worlds. Team SoloMid will make it to the finals, but here comes the Impale.
It is dodged by the Skedaddle. Zio caught up in the gauntlet. Vainglory gets onto him, but he gets stunned as well. And now here's the Dragon's Breath trying to get the chase off. Githian wall on Vainglory. Chuck in the front line gets caught up in the goop. Aloha will take him down. There's a snipe from the Kestrel, and Velocity stop the dive of Team SoloMid.
And Vainglory wants a little bit more, though. You can see he's feeling kind of antsy, jumping in.
Overly aggressive, though. That's the Vainglory special. He gets caught out. FlashX will take a kill, but Zio will chase him down, and Hammer's Velocity get the ace.
I almost got a little bit carried away there and started doing play-by-play. What was Vainglory thinking? Going so deep there, I don't think he had the backup possible from Flash to make that play work. Looking at the fight as a whole, though, and how it developed to that state, I honestly think Team SoloMid had moments where it looked like maybe it would turn around, but they kind of weren't on the same wavelength. Best Chuck and Vainglory were dipping in and out at maybe different times. The fountain from Flash was a bit too late to let Best Chuck feel like he could fight. Best Chuck had pretty much fully disengaged before then going back in because Vainglory dived quite deep. I do feel like Flash missed the beat there.
And it's something that we do see sometimes from Flash. Excoundrel was talking on the analyst desk. He's saying Flash sometimes just uses the gauntlet for the sake of using that cooldown. And yes, if you're going to die anyway, and if you think the fight is the end fight of the game, you might as well use it, because having cooldowns up when you're dead doesn't really matter. But you need to understand the positioning of Velocity here, and you need to understand exactly how you want to engage fights.
Absolutely, and definitely the composition it works differently than, for example, some of the Arden games that he's played earlier on today. Flash does want to use it probably quite aggressively, just because Team SoloMid is on the front foot for the time being. But their previously 4,000 gold lead is now down to 3,000. That's going to keep narrowing. I'd like to see them put less pressure on just diving turrets and more pressure on taking back camps. You know, they can do that safely. They don't necessarily need to take the riskier path here.
Well, that's what they're doing at the moment. Vainglory will take the Treant away, and you can see how defensive Velocity are being. They know if they lose this game, they are out of the Vainglory World Championships, and that means they have to be a little bit more passive and allow Team SoloMid to dictate the pace of the game for the next couple of minutes.
And Team SoloMid, I mean, even with a few iffy fights here and there, I mean, they are basically doing that. It is buying a lot of time for Velocity to scale up, though. I mean, we've got the second item now in Eve on Zeo. Obviously, a massive pickup for a Scarf, especially if you don't take him down quickly. With broken myth stacks on top of an Eve, you are going to have so much sustaining fights. It's the turn and burn that you were talking about last game, with the ability to heal up off of Dragon's Breath. So it's an interesting situation. Team SoloMid may be struggling to find a good window here.
What is their next window? How do they position? How do they play to make Velocity have to make a mistake?
Well, Vainglory's sitting on around 13,000 gold, but they're still going for a fight right now.
Going for the fight. Vainglory does jump in, the gauntlet used, but Vaing's just escapes. 13,000 gold is quite a lot.
Gold.
Yeah.
1,500 gold is obviously what I meant. But, you know, caster math, we know how it goes. So Vainglory, yeah, I think he needs to pick up another big item. Not sure if Broken Myth is the avenue I would have gone down necessarily. I think perhaps going for the Storm Crown next would have been good, because you kind of want to keep control more than anything else. But, you know, this does give him a lot more damage. And if they can just pick up Zeo or Aloha quickly, they're in a good spot.
They are. They're going to take the gold miner once again. It almost feels like TSM are just waiting for the Kraken to spawn, and then they'll force Hammer's Velocity out of their turret range just by having that Kraken on the map and being able to take it away. They get their second gold mine, put themselves 4,000 ahead. And Velocity are just working out exactly how they need to approach these next couple of minutes.
Vainglory now has over 1,900 gold.
You sure it's not 19,000?
I'm sure it's not 19,000. I'm sure he's sure it's not 19,000 as well. He needs to buy something with it and do something with it soon. Because, obviously he doesn't know this, but Aloha's sitting on like 1,200, right? So if Vainglory were to buy right now, and Team SoloMid made the same kind of aggressive play that they did earlier on, which was considered by me over-aggressive at the time, because of the disparity in items, they would have been in a great spot. Now Aloha's got the Tyrant's Monocle. That was a window they could have used.
We talk about gold efficiency and slot efficiency. Vainglory has now got the Broken Myth, but because he had all of his slots filled up, he wasn't able to buy the components of a Broken Myth. He had to just wait on that Piercing Shard until he had 2,300 gold, I believe it is, to pick up the Broken Myth.
Or Vainglory could have picked up more mid-tier component items instead of going directly for the Broken Myth and pressured earlier on. This suggests to me that Team SoloMid feel comfortable pushing this game a little bit later, rather than trying to squeeze every ounce of efficiency out of their items earlier on. Considering how last game went, that speaks quite a lot to the mentality of Team SoloMid. They don't feel too deterred.
Well, they have a greater mental fortitude than I, because if I had been Team SoloMid in that last game, I would be feeling pretty downtrodden by the end of it, because of how strong Zeo's Scarf was late game, because of how easy it was for Vaing's to protect him. And now that you've given over that Kestrel pick as well, you have to wonder, did Velocity not just have too much for TSM if it gets into that late game portion?
Well, it remains to be seen. I believe that Team SoloMid can do well in the fights later on. It's going to be a large part down to how best Chuck and A plays around the fights and Ace's highs and that kind of thing. And also Vainglory, if you can really put the pressure on a bit easier this time around. But with Kraken now on the map, Team SoloMid do have options to force Velocity to not necessarily wait all the way until the late game. Maybe try and do something sooner.
And you can see how much TSM have starved Velocity out of farm. Look at the laners. Bestchuck's at 148 farm and Zeo's at 117. That's a 30 differential. The junglers are pretty much even, but Bestchuck has had a lot of farm funneled onto him by TSM. Now Vaing's is going to face check into 3 members of TSM. Man. just rolls his way away. Flash looking for the engage. Aces High does not connect onto Vanes. Von-C has jumped in as well. Can Vanes escape? That's the big question. There's the gauntlet and Vanes cannot.
The front line's gone.
Zio needs to try and get this Dragon's Breath off onto Best Chuck. He'll take him down. Von-C stunned up as well. Aloha trying to get the damage out, but just cannot take down that Taka.
Whilst that is a fight win, it's a fight win that Team SoloMid can't do that much with, right? Like, not any more than they have just without even fighting for the last little while. They're going to try a new Kraken. I think this is risky. I think they've made a guess that Aloha isn't going to expect it. If he does, this could go really horribly wrong, though.
He's still got the one-shot, one-kill as well. He's currently sitting just by his backs, perhaps going to push forward in a second. Kraken about a third at the moment. FlashX going to disengage from it, pops the Vanguard. Still not looking for this Aloha, and perhaps hasn't realized it's happening.
Doesn't realize.
But there's a Lance on his way. Vanes will now know that this has been begun, and Von-C immediately disengages, goes for the Treant instead, because he expected Hammer's Velocity to start the fight. Kraken still taken down a little bit. Velocity step forward. TSM, Aces High misses. Best Chuck not being able to engage with that. And it is a weakness for TSM that they don't have the strongest engage unless Von-C jumps in.
They also don't have the strongest engage unless Von-C already has some key stacks, and you can see there he was trying to keep them up on Kraken, but unlike keeping them up on like a Treant, it kind of hurts to do that, so there was only a small window of opportunity. Velocity, they get spotted out by a buckshot here.
Vanes is right in the front line. Aloha and Zio off towards the side. War Tread's used. Velocity not quite going to be able to get this one. Here's Von-C. War Treads from TSM. They're going for it. Von-C jumps onto Zio. Vanes the front line for them here. Glimmers out from Aloha. He's low on energy. Active camo stun on Flash. Best Chuck still alive. There's the gauntlet. But here's the Dragon's Breath. Zio tries to reply with an ult of his own. And Von-C will die, as will Best Chuck and A. And it's an ace for Hammer's Velocity.
Again with the gauntlets, right? You've done so much damage to Vanes there that even if you don't get the kill, you back off, you take some camps, you wait for a better fight. I understand the impetus to go by TSM. They see War Treads are gone and they're like, maybe we can actually catch up, we can actually stick onto the backline a little bit easier, but when they actually get onto the turret, with the turret attacking as well as everything else, it actually goes on a Von-C, one of the worst targets possible for Team SoloMid. You know, you just didn't want to put yourself almost in a pressure cooker situation that we normally call Scarf with Ardent together.
There's the Kraken as well for Hammer's Velocity. They have got 5 turrets to push through. Could this be a TSM special against TSM?
Ooh, TSM special is going to be kind of hard because it's such an explosive engage from TSM here, and I feel like Hammer's Velocity do have to put themselves in a bit of a risky position to maybe go for these turrets. But you never know, the Kraken's still quite healthy. This turret already down a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to get taken out by Velocity here. Kraken still pushing in. Velocity with their first turret of the game. I'm sure they want a lot more from this. Impale from Vanes. Off towards the side, Von-C takes it as an opportunity to jump in, and Von-C is all on Zio. He does have the Kaku away. Best Chuck! NA has gone down, and now Von-C jumps in. The Githian wall from Vanes was absolutely superb. They do lose Zio, but Velocity will take another turret, and they will continue to push in here.
This Scarf really seems to have thrown Team SoloMid for a loop. They just can't deal with this composition. Normally they're the team with the prep.
Did they just go for this?
I mean, they got to split turrets, but I think it's doable.
No, I
understand
like this
not
decision.
wanting to take the risk.
Yeah,
though,
I like
right?
this decision, because if you lose that fight, you basically lose the game.
You're done,
or
though.
at least you lose another Kraken, so they back away. Best Chuck and A will be back up now. And at the moment, we talk about Best Chuck and A, well, we're looking to see who the best team NA is. The only NA team that will be going through to the World's Finals is the winner of this match.
It is indeed, and both teams have got such a fan backing behind them. You know, they're really well known within the community. I'm sure they want to bring that win home for their community and for their region. You know, we've been in this series for so long that it's kind of easy to forget we're at the World Championship. But these guys have to go up against Korea after this. This has been a very stressful, very tough series. It could go even further to 5 games. I can't even imagine the pressure these guys are under right now.
Nor can I. Look at how even the gold is as well. It's like 400 gold the difference. That's
at this point, it doesn't matter.
It's a 1% difference between the gold between these two teams at the moment. Zio sitting on this Scarf once again, almost has that 3-item spike we saw him hit in the last game. Not quite there yet. but definitely well on his way. TSM still looking for these aggressive engages, but getting spotted out by that flare from Vains. He's once again got himself a contraption to stop any aggression from Team SoloMid.
FlashX does sneak into that bush there to buy something. What do we pick up? Looks like some maybe flares. Obviously very important at this stage in the game. See some poke damage coming out of Chuck too. It really is on a knife's edge right now. Neither team wants to commit too riskily. I think actually for both teams, to a certain extent, they'd prefer to be the ones initiated on, just so they can have that split second while enemy's running at you to plan what they want to do.
Especially for Hammer's velocity as well, because their ability to continue a team fight after they've been engaged on is incredibly strong, with Vains being that front line, with Aloha having the active camo, with Zio just running out with the boots and then popping the Aegis to get through the gauntlet, which is the probable engage tool. Infusions have started to come out. Actually, no infusion on Vains, but not really the biggest target. Best Chuck just dodges out his Spitfire. Flash looking for the gauntlet across the wall. Will pop the flare. Aloha in the front line. Active camo down as well. Team SoloMid against Hammer's Velocity. It's game 4 of the semi-finals here. Vauncey slightly caught out.
It feels like deja vu.
Oh, he's high on Zio. Here's the gauntlet as well. FlashX is going. It was cancelled. What a god Vains is, and the Dragon's Breath comes out. Double Imperial. Hammer's Velocity are going to turn this one right back around.
Best Chuck can't do it.
Chuck cannot do anything. Hammer's Velocity and Vains in particular. You absolute gods.
They're going to be taking us to a Game 5 Sona. North America versus North America. Team SoloMid versus Hammer's Velocity. It's going all the way. This Scarf pick has been huge. The plays out of Vains in these last couple of fights have been massive. What are Team SoloMid going to do? They could get reverse swept. You mentioned this earlier. This is something Velocity can make happen.
Well, the hammer came down and Vains was the one to pound Team SoloMid into the anvil. It's 2-2 now in this semi-final. What a series it has been thus far. And as you say, it can only be playing on the minds of Team SoloMid that this has happened to them before.
Honestly, I mean,